Hey there, welcome to another vlog. This is a mom diary. I'm just going to be speaking about what I've been thinking about recently. But while I'm talking about that I will show myself cooking. So you'll see me making two meals on the screen. The first meal is beans porridge. I practically wrapped that. I had almost wrapped up that cooking session before I realized that okay, it'll be a good idea to vlog this. But the other one is me making abacha. Abacha is a Nigerian dish. We call it African salad, but it's made from shavings of cassava. Cassava is a root tuber. So these shavings are usually dried. So they're dried, most times sun dried and packaged. And when we want to make it, you have to kind of soak those shavings in lukewarm water with salt. Then you leave it I leave mine for about an hour, 2 hours. Once they absorb the water a little bit and they're a bit more fleshy or more moist, more juicy, then I put it in a colander or a sieve to dry, or just to drain out the water, not to dry. Then I make the sauce. The base of the sauce is palm oil, and I use the palm oil to fry fish. So the fish that I use is mackerel. We call it Titus in Nigeria. I think a lot of people call it Titus too, but it's mackerel. I buy it frozen. Cut one fish into like 5 or 6 pieces, take out the guts, season it with, it's really simple seasoning. So I just use a seasoning cube. In this instance, it was just Knorr, Knorr, and salt. So I just season the fish with salt, keep it for a few minutes, usually 30 minutes, so that the seasoning can kind of penetrate into the fish. Then I bring it out and I deep fry it in palm oil. So once I'm done with deep frying the fish, you would see the video. Once I'm done with deep frying the fish, I use that oil as the base for the sauce for the abacha that I'm making. So people make abacha differently. Some make it with a sauce that has like potash, but I make it with a sauce from like fried oil. I kind of fry it. So you would see me, or you will see me, put the oil in a pot, season it, put some seasoning, Knorr again, salt, chopped up onions, and crayfish. Then cook that a little bit. Then put in the cassava flakes. That's the abacha. Turn that up a little bit. Put in chili pepper or Cameroon pepper, whatever works for you. Then stir that up a little bit, and then it's ready. So that's what you will see me make in this video. I'll also put links. I'll put some text in on the screen when I'm actually doing a few of these things. Then I will go on to braiding my daughter's hair and getting ready for the work week by doing a manicure and doing like some skincare. I just put on the eye. I'm at loss for words right now. The eye patch, the faded eye patch for the under eye, and I just moisturize my skin. So it's really just like me in the kitchen and me doing some basic things from the house, around the house, cooking and some self-care, while while I'll have the voiceover going. So that's a quick intro. This vlog, really, what I want to talk about is something that's personal and something that I've carried with me over a lot of years, and it's the way that I struggle with conversations. I find conversations sometimes really hard. So I'm talking about group conversations here, and sometimes even informal conversations. So conversations with people that I'm not very familiar with, or like in social circles, maybe my child has an activity and you're with the moms, or someone has a friend has a birthday party and you're with parents, or you're in a social gathering, or even at work, right? I'm with colleagues over at the end of a meeting where people just want to stay and chit chat, or maybe we decide to take a group lunch together, like those kind of settings. Or even with people that I don't know, people I'm just trying to get to know. I go to like an event, or I'm with Kay and he's with friends, and it's just a different group of people. I will say that I am an introvert. I am an introvert. Not I will say, I am an introvert. I really enjoy me time. I really enjoy quiet. I enjoy doing things by myself, with myself. And I wonder, I wonder, I believe a lot of it stems from the way that I was brought up. I was an only girl, so I was always by myself, with myself. I had friends, but I just grew up being by myself. And I wasn't, in retrospect, I didn't really have a lot of conversations with my mom. My mom was busy, my dad wasn't really around. So I didn't really have people that will make me talk. So I found that I was always on my own, always in my head, always having that monologue with myself. So I've grown into that person over time, where in a group I'm just quiet. Like I'm just there, And so I would walk into social situations, and and I'm thinking, what should I say? How do I sound? Do they think I'm boring? Like there's always something good in my head. There's always something in my head, but if I'm being completely honest, I've realized something about myself over time, and that is that I love listening to people. I can get lost in someone's story. I'll just find myself painting vivid pictures in my mind as they talk. And unless someone intentionally asks for my opinion, sometimes I'm perfectly content just being there and listening.
Is that the fish?
There were times in my life where I used to think, does that make me a fly on the wall? Or, just a doormat? But I think that's probably a conversation for another day. As I've gotten older, really, and interacted with people from different cultures, different backgrounds, I moved from one continent to another, literally. So I've been exposed to different types of people, more than I would have been exposed to if I was in my home country, and people with different life experiences. I've noticed something that genuinely surprised me, and that is that it's that a lot of people pay attention to every single word in the conversation. And I mean every word. It was a shocker for me. Like it was like when you have an epiphany, that's what it was. I'm like, my God, is this really what is happening in this world? So people remember what was said, how it was said, what wasn't said, and sometimes they will even help you tag meaning to things that you never intended. But while I was reflecting on that, something that I also realized is I approach conversations differently. I listen, I try to learn something new, I try to enjoy the exchange, and then I move on. I naturally give people grace, right? I don't spend a lot of time analyzing every sentence or looking for hidden meanings. It was heartbreaking, but I realized that, that same grace isn't always extended back to me. I feel like every comment is being evaluated, assessed, compared or judged. And to be honest, it's as an adult, it can feel exhausting. Like, why do I have to prep myself? Like, it's almost like I feel like I have to bind myself before I go into a conversation. I start to feel like I have to be careful all the time, guarded. I have to be very calculated. I can't be free. I'm not saying that, to be honest, I'm not saying that we shouldn't be mindful of the things that we say. Words matter, the intent matters. But sometimes conversations will start to feel like competition instead of just an opportunity to connect. It's like, who is going to get the last word? Who sounds like they're the most knowledgeable, or they're the smartest, or who appears to be the most successful, who can subtly put someone else down to elevate themselves. I think that it's part of human nature. Like, we're in a dog eat dog world. If that's the only thing that comes to my mind now. It's almost like survival of the fittest. I don't know why it has to be like that, but I always wonder, why do we always feel the need? Like, why do we sometimes feel the need to rank ourselves in every interaction? Why do we chase status even in ordinary conversations? Like, it's almost like you're trying to paint yourself to be the most interesting, the most successful. I'm not a saint by any means. I am a saint in the making, but everything that I'm saying right now, I have been that person. But the thing about being someone, the previous version of yourself, and like taking time to stop, pause, and think about where you want to be, the future state, the future version of yourself, is that pause, realizing that everybody you are seeing around you, you can see yourself in them, but this is not what you want. It's too stressful. It's not necessary. That strife, that it's not necessary. But you won't get there if you are constantly doing it day to day. You keep moving from one thing to another. You get there from the grace of pause, just staying with yourself and thinking, really, really thinking about what you're doing, how it makes you feel, how it could make others feel, and how you could do this better. So a lot of those experiences made me hyper aware of myself. And it's in that hyper awareness I was like, no, I can't live life like this. Like, this is really not living. I'm still reminding myself every day. I'm not saying that I've got it at 100%, because sometimes I catch myself. Sometimes I catch myself slipping into old patterns. Like, I find myself still doing the things that I said I was going to stop doing, but that's human nature, right? Sometimes you revert back to what is familiar, what you know, what you've done, even though you've made a resolution to do better, and that's why you give yourself grace. So in those situations, I found that I was so focused on how I was being perceived, how I was showing up, how people saw me, the kind of image that I had, and what the type of the part of myself I was bringing to those conversations. So I was so focused on how all that was happening that I stopped being present in the conversation itself. And one of the biggest things that has helped me to shift my mindset from trying to be correct or be in a situation where people are very critical of me, or being, overly self-conscious, to being interested, being present in that moment, and being interested in that moment and in that person, is shifting my focus to the other person. So less about myself and more about the other person or the other people in that space, in that time with me. People love being heard, I'm not saying that you should allow yourself to be someone that people dump their trauma on. If people are having a hard time, there's a time for, giving people a space to kind of speak through, being a shoulder that they can lean on, allowing people to cry, to just be with you. If you are that person who can create that space, not you are the person who will go and be giving unsolicited advice at a time when people just want someone to listen to. So there's a space for that. There's also a space of, just light conversations, just being someone that people can be, someone who people find easy to have a conversation with because you can listen. So people love being heard. If you focus more on learning something about that other person, it takes the spotlight off you. And I found that it reduced my anxiety about conversations and that kind of situation. Another thing I've been working on is being more comfortable with silence. I've said before that I love silence. Silence is like apex for me. That's my utopia. It's like the peak, the summit of Mount Everest for me. That's what silence is. But silence when other people are around, especially when the expectation is to have a conversation, I find that very awkward. So, but I've started to allow myself to be comfortable with silence when there are other people with me. Because I also find that it's hard for others. I used to think that, when you have people around you, every pause needed to be filled immediately. But do you know what? Silence isn't awkward unless you all in that space decide that it is. If everyone is okay with just that pause, quiet, then that's okay. Give yourselves that. That's a blessing. That's a gift, Give yourselves that. So sometimes that brief pause just gives people space to think, to share more, and or just to simply breathe. Every conversation won't be amazing. Every interaction will not be deep, meaningful, or memorable. Some conversations are short. Some conversations are awkward. Some conversations will not lead anywhere. And that is completely normal. NK, I'm telling myself now, NK, that is completely normal. This is a reminder to self that is completely normal. Confidence in conversation doesn't always come from knowing what to say. It comes from trusting yourself even when you don't know what to say. You are not you are not a magician. You are not like you are you, right? So why would you put that pressure on yourself to come with an A game to every single conversation? Like, why do I have to live like that? Why am I putting with my own hand by my own self? Why am I putting pressure on myself? Another level of pressure, apart from every other thing that's going on in my life, that extra layer of pressure to when I'm in a group of people to talk the best, to be the best conversationalist. Why am I doing that to myself? Why am I choosing to do that to myself when it's not a performance assessment? When I don't have to prove to my boss that, I'm being very efficient, I'm working hard, I'm busy. This is just a conversation. Why am I doing that to myself? So, but in instances where, I found that, I want to actually show up in that conversation. What I do is I ask follow-up questions. So if someone talks to me about a hobby or a trip or their family or something they're working on, a project or just anything, I just try to stay curious. So instead of jumping to my own story or instead of incorporating my own, oh, this happened to me. Oh, just like when I just ask them to tell me more, it could be based on what I heard recently or something that they just said, something I'm just curious about. I'm like, oh, why don't you tell me more about this? Oh, how did that feel? Oh, how'd that go? Oh, was that really good? How'd that make you feel? Just stay curious. Those simple moments of curiosity create better conversations than any other thought up conversation that you had in your head or any rehearsed response could ever. Just stay in moments, stay curious, and connect the lines in that conversation. And I think I've mentioned it before. This channel, this YouTube channel helps me. I said it in my anniversary vlog that just staying here, speaking to myself, aligning my thoughts, stringing words together, going back to, listen to my own voice or watch a video, like a previous video. It is a blessing. This channel is a blessing, especially for someone like me. This channel is a blessing. If you want to start a YouTube video and your goal is, to learn how to speak up a bit more, go for it. Do not doubt yourself. Go for it. Like, you have no idea how speaking to yourself with an intent, with a purpose, helps you to articulate your thoughts, and it makes you more coherent and clearer in your speech. So don't delay. There's a lot of work. Let's be guided. Don't underestimate the work that goes into this. Figuring out, the story for the video. When you have those clips, how do you string it together? Editing the videos, doing the voiceover. There is work that goes into content creation. But I'm loving it. I'm reaping the benefits. I'm loving it despite the work. If that is you, please go for it. Do not be discouraged. And as someone who is also growing in my faith, as a growing Catholic mom, yeah, that's me. I've also realized that many of my conversation struggles were rooted in fear. So the fear of judgment, the fear of rejection, the fear of saying the wrong thing, just all these irrational fears. But brethren, sorry for that. But honestly, when you realize, like when you know that your identity is rooted and grounded in God, rather than in other people's opinions, rather than in validations that come from other people. This itself is a journey, but it's a journey worth embarking on. My God, the journey of, staying strong, staying anchored in God, like knowing that regardless of what happens, regardless of what you see around you, you are not moved. You are not moved because God sees you. He knows it all. He has your life in His palm. Knowing that someone, not just anyone, the creator of heaven and earth, Abba, the one that Jesus called Abba, Father, sees you as His child. That realization, if you know it, that you know it, that realization will make you walk with your shoulders held high. And some of all these fears will lose their power. But as human beings, you remember today, you forget tomorrow. Keep reminding yourself. That's why we're all on this earth. We're walking towards our salvation, using Jesus as the yardstick, using Master Jesus as the yardstick. So once you know that, you are grounded in God, those fears will lose their power. I'm still learning. I still have awkward moments. I still leave conversations wishing that I had said some things differently. But now I see conversation as a skill. That is the difference. It is a skill. It's not a personality. It's not me. It's not NK, the conversationalist. No, it's a skill. It is something that I can practice. It is something that you can practice. It is something that I can improve. It is also something that you can improve. It is something that we can all grow into. Don't count yourself out of it. We can all grow into it. So if you've been struggling with conversations lately, I would like you to know, child of God, that you are not alone. You don't need to be the loudest person in the room. there cannot be two loudest people in one room. That's going to be madness. So there's no need to compete for the spotlight or the person with the loudest voice. That's unnecessary. You do not need to have the perfect story. You do not need a perfect personality. That is a myth. That person does not exist. We all have our flaws. We're all working towards perfection of some sort. So the perfect personality does not exist. You just need to be present. You just need to be curious. You just need to be willing to connect. And honestly, that is something all of us can learn. So maybe being a good listener does not make me a fly on the wall. It doesn't make me a doormat. Maybe it actually is one of the most underrated conversational skills. I think so. I think that makes me a good conversationalist because I can listen. When I choose to, I can, ask questions and, help that conversation to keep going. So that's it for me. Thank you for spending time with me today. If it's resonated with you, let me know in the comments. What is one thing you've been doing to improve your conversations? I would love to hear from you. And I pray that our Mother Mary will cover us under her mantle of love and protection. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next vlog. Bye.